Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Arc 5, Arc 1 live read of Arc 1 of ReZero. Yep, that was really hard. Thank you so much, Proof and Belly, for joining our memberships. We just launched them. It's so great to have you all. Holy cow, Proof, thank you so much for gifting the 5 memberships as well. Thank you so much. And also, welcome to the editing team, Proof. Proof is one of our new editors, among other people. We're still finishing up the editor interviews. I think I have one more tomorrow, and I might have 1 or 2 more left this week. Then I'll be casting our mods, and then we're going to get started back up with our editing and everything. Yay! So just a heads up, now that we have memberships activated, if you end up becoming a member while we're reading, we'll address that right after the chapter is done. So thank you so much, and we're going to try our best to chat with you guys in between as well and actually say hello. So hello NY, hello Sprite, hello Proof, Kral, Belly, Pow, Connor, Maddie, of course, Strip, Chicken, and Kral. It's good to see you all today. All right, without further ado, let's bring in the cast and introduce ourselves. Yay! All right, team, I am back. Drad, would you like to start us off? And happy birthday! Welcome to your 20s. Pachi pachi. Is that us? Oh, it's us. Oh. Go ahead, you first.
What? Hello everyone, I'm Wolfie Boy. I play the Subaru, and I also play another very beloved character in Arc 5 that some of you may know of.
Fiona. And hello, as you guys know, I'm Kyles McGiles, and I'm your Amelia, and whoever's missing today. Yay! Oh, you can't?
Oh my god, I'm so fucking stupid.
Okay.
Chill.
Hear you now. Okay, back to the top. Chad, start us off. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me! I am now 20 years old and ancient. I'll be doing Old Kind Man 16, as well as possibly Old Man Rom, as well as Katamon, the Apple salesman. Yeah, that's it. Gold.
Yay! Hi, I'm Gold. I do voice acting, and I'm doing the narration. And okay, pass it down below me. Hello, bye.
Well, you already heard our introduction, and Kyle's is a fucking idiot. Okay, and I just demonetized us. We love to see it. All right, you're up, Palzar.
We're just failing on all cylinders.
Yeah, we got like 6 minutes of buffer time before that. We should be fine.
That's true.
I'm Palazard, or Connor. I do the proofreading and double-checking translations for these, and I'll also be doing some narration today.
Huzzah! Hi, I'm Tealdi. I'll be doing Elsa again, because why not? Also, Drad, my condolences on the death of your teens. It's always a rough time.
I felt it.
I'm Vivi. I'll be doing Puck. It's my first day. Go easy on me.
I'm shy.
Yay!
All right, friends. I think without further ado, we can get
You're gonna knock
started.
your socks off.
Yeah, we're gonna knock your freaking socks off.
If you don't have socks, go get some, put them on, get ready.
Yeah, get ready.
Get ready for the 4D experience of your socks getting blown off by our amazing voice acting today.
Hey, yo.
We're all on in top form. This is going to be the best stream ever. Duh.
Duh. All right, I'm going to share the link with you, chatters. The only thing is for whatever reason, my Google Docs did not want to save it nicely. So, I swear, Connor actually did this really beautifully and I messed it up. So here's the chapter to read with us. Also, for anyone who has a membership, while I'm doing the Liliana recording chapters and everything, we are going to launch them all in one. So chapters 63 to 67 will be released all at once for the Saga of Liliana Masquerade. But if you are a member of the channel, you'll be getting the chapters as I finish editing them, so you'll get them individually. You're welcome! All right. Let us start. If I can find the right page.
We were starting with chapter 16 today, arc 1.
Are
Correct.
correct. Are you see that okay? All right. Awesome.
Everyone set?
Yombos.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start
Arc 1. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. You're ready.
Arc 1, Chapter 16, Negotiation in the Slums. Having returned to the trading street, Subaru immediately started trying his hardest to locate not Satella. Although all he could really do was stare into the crowd with wide eyes as wide as dinner plates. In the third world, he hadn't been very far from the fruit shop when he encountered her, so he decided to position himself around there for now. Subaru could see the shopkeeper's face in the corner of his vision, and his expression seemed rather stern.
Our meeting didn't go that well this time. But I know you're actually a great guy deep down. I know it!
Subaru directed a smile and a thumbs up at him, and the shopkeeper immediately averted his eyes with an expression that looked like he'd seen something unpleasant. Subaru felt somewhat lonely as he withdrew his thumb and once again directed his gaze towards the street. The street was swarmed with all sorts of people as usual, diverse inhabitants of a fantasy world, and among them Subaru saw what one could perhaps call a beastman, a bipedal, dog-like being that had incredibly fluffy fur which caused him to freak out. He wanted to feel it really badly.
What's with that loveliness? They've already won at birth. Just like Reinhard or Notsatella. It's sinful!
Their gait was tottering due to their short stature, giving them the charm of a small animal.
Ugh, calm down, my right arm. This isn't the time to fill them up. Have you forgotten why we're here?
He somehow gained control of the arm that was going to reach for that white fur, and after he regretfully watched them walk away, he returned his gaze to its original position. However, it had already been almost 10 minutes since he started watching the road, and he didn't find anyone that looked like her. Confirming the time on his phone, he found that it had been almost an hour since his reset.
My sense of time feels off, but going off my memories, it'd be weird if the theft hasn't happened by now.
As he said this, a bad feeling went through him. Once he felt this chilling sensation, there was never any escaping it. He screamed out. He scratched his head, and having no other choice, walked toward the stall before him.
Hey, old man!
What, broke kid?
Standing before him was the owner of the fruit shop, clearly annoyed that Subaru dared to show his face again.
True or not, that was a pretty harsh way of saying it.
Subaru thought this as he forced a smile. Without being discouraged, he responded.
It's true that I'm broke, so I won't deny it. But there's something I want to ask you, old man. Has there been a pickpocketing incident around here?
You've got some nerve asking questions without even buying anything. Also, too bad, but that sort of thing isn't really unusual.
Seriously?
Subaru couldn't help but raise his voice in surprise at the mean-spirited response, but it wasn't as if he didn't understand. After all, the loot house was a place where stolen items from all over the capital were gathered. There was enough theft going on to fill that giant storehouse, which gave an idea as to the level of public order around here.
Does this mean I'm out of luck?
But I do remember the commotion just now, since it was unusual. There were 2 or 3 blasts of magic, you see. Have a look.
He leaned out of his stall and pointed to the left, at a stall about 4 spaces away. Subaru's line of sight followed.
Whoa. It's incredible.
Those icicle pierced that wall like arrows and left that damage. They disappeared immediately, though.
Right next to the stall was the entrance to a narrow alley, and one of its walls had holes bored into it. There were 4 of them, and each one was around the size of a 500 yen coin. Since they were able to pierce a stone wall, the thought of their speed and power at the moment of impact sent a chill down his spine.
This isn't like those ice rocks she fired before. Wonder if she's angrier this time.
If he approached her carelessly, he might end up getting blasted with them himself. The thought of this caused a cold sweat to form on his forehead.
But this means I was too late this time too.
Setting aside his frightening imaginations, he wiped the sweat off his forehead as he muttered this. Not Satella was most likely the one who left those marks behind. If it was a theft involving her, it was probably alright to assume that Felt had snatched the insignia from her. That being said, it meant that he had lost the means to link up with Not Satella. Well, there was no surefire way to meet up with her as far as Subaru knew. In other words, he had a new priority.
Meeting up with Felt, who has the insignia, I'd like to get to her before she reaches the loot house and trade my phone for the insignia on the spot, if possible.
He truly did not want to approach the loot house, as he had been slaughtered there twice. More specifically, he wanted to avoid getting involved with Elsa there.
It would just be a repeat of the first time if I'm too late. However, reaching Rom first and waiting for Felt would be no different from the second time.
Thus, the crucial point was Felt's location. At the moment, she was probably desperately running around in order to shake Not Satella off. Of course, it wasn't like she could run forever, so he figured it should be possible to catch her somewhere. But such a thing would prove extremely difficult for Subaru, who was less familiar with the capital than even the average person.
Should I rely on return by death? And just use this attempt for investigation?
It certainly seemed like an effective strategy, but Subaru shook his head and rejected it right away. For starters, having experienced death 3 times, he didn't think he could make the decision to throw his life away in order to just retry. All 3 deaths were quite literally so painful he could die. If he could settle things without tasting death, then he'd rather only ever experience it at the very end, on his deathbed. In addition, he was also concerned about the fact that he didn't know exactly how return by death worked. Throwing his life away only to find out he had 0 left wouldn't even be funny as a joke.
In the end, I guess I'll just have to struggle all I can while I've still got life. That much is obvious, though.
He twisted his waist, grinding his joints, and started bending and stretching to warm up. The shopkeeper seemed annoyed by the fact that he was doing radio calisthenics in front of his stall. Having warmed up, Subaru raised his hand toward him as he jogged away.
Alright, thanks a lot, old man. I'll be leaving now. I'll definitely buy some apples next time.
Yeah, you'd be more than welcome as a customer. Work hard, broke kid.
For sure! I'm really praying I have some money the next time I show up here.
The shopkeeper apathetically saw him off as he broke into a run. He headed towards the slums, but not in the direction of the loot house. He had already decided that he'd be raising bad end flags if he went there. Now it was time to try a new angle of attack.
Where Felt lives, huh? Head 2 streets down that way. It's ahead of there.
Oh, thanks a lot. You're a lifesaver, bruv.
It's no problem, brother. What do we say? Live strong.
The middle-aged man said this with a weak smile as he disappeared into a creaking door. Thinking back to how this man's strange smile was filled with sympathy from beginning to end, Subaru pumped his fist at his strategy's success. Covered in mud and dirt, his appearance was such that even slum dwellers found it pitiful.
It was a strategy I devised from my experiences in those first 2 times, but that sure was effective, huh?
As he said this, Subaru wiped off his sleeves, which had become crusty now that the mud on them had dried. Before arriving here, he devised an ingenious plan to pinpoint Felt's destination, which was to play the part of an extremely downtrodden person. When he had been wandering around the slums with Not Satella in the first world, he had just recently been beaten into the ground by Tonshinkan, and the inhabitants' reception was correspondingly sympathetic and cooperative. Completely different from the second time, when their reaction was cold and curt, since he had shown no real damage to speak of. Perhaps because of that, he ended up going a little overboard with his appearance this time.
Well, I did end up stepping in some unknown animal's dung and stuff.
He trembled at the thought of how he had nearly fallen into it. Thankfully, since it only got in his shoes, his honor was probably still intact. Unfortunately, even as he thought this, there wasn't the slightest hint of honor or anything of the sort left in his filthy appearance.
I've got 4 reports right now. 3 of them match.
Sympathizing with him, 4 people gave him information. Right now, 3 of the comments about Felt's location matched. Unless they were all conspiring to screw him over, it was probably okay to assume the information was accurate. The one differing report came from an old woman who was hard of hearing, so she definitely wasn't trying to deceive him. Probably.
I think I found where she sleeps, but now the problem becomes whether or not she'll come here.
He did find out where she normally stayed, but since she was currently in the midst of escaping, it was 50-50 whether or not she would run there. If she was worried her pursuer would destroy her place, perhaps he would think it would better to avoid it. If that happened, he could only say he had no luck.
It's not like worrying about it will do anything. I'm not going to worry about things I can't answer, alright?
Even when he was at a loss, he wouldn't waste time on things that couldn't be helped. His decisiveness shined here too. Subaru jogged deeper into the slums as he knocked the hardened dirt off his clothes. When he first came here, he couldn't even do anything beside hide behind Natsatella, let alone independently gather information. He had developed quite a bit, made him want to reward himself.
A reward for my hard work. Ooh, am I going to open my corn pottage again?
As he fished around his bag, he approached a road and almost collided with someone who suddenly emerged from it. He moved out of the way in a panic, but his back ended up colliding with that narrow road, knocking the wind out of him. Watching him, the person he was about to walk into spoke in a gentle manner.
Oh, do excuse me. Are you all right?
I'm good. Despite how I look, I'm actually...
Subaru raised his face to play it off, but was unable to end his sentence when he saw who he was talking to. Hearing his high-pitched voice, the black-haired woman giggled slightly.
You're a funny kid, aren't you? Are you really all right?
She brushed up the hair covering her ear. Even this gesture was somehow sexy, and Subaru thought to himself that her each and every action was erotic as usual. A sexy beauty who behaved in an erotic manner. Someone he absolutely did not want to meet.
You don't have to be so afraid. I'm not going to do anything to you.
Afraid? It's not like I'm afraid of you or anything. What proof do you have to claim that I'm nervous? I am seriously freaking out though. But you can't talk to me like that. I'm really nervous though.
Your scent.
Ignoring his attempt to act tough, her eyes narrowed into a sweet smile. Subaru cocked his head at this, and in response she used her well-sharpened nose to sniff.
When someone is afraid, it shows in their scent. Right now you're scared. And you're angry too. At me.
She seemed to be having a good time exposing her inner feelings as she looked up to him. Subaru went silent, only responding with a forced smile as he took deep breaths to calm his rapidly beating heart. Her words were true. Subaru was afraid of her. The woman before him was the most terrifying person he knew in this world. She was also the one he hated most in this world. He truly wanted to beat her down if it was possible for him to do so. And before that, he had an unbearable urge to run away immediately. He had died by her hand twice now. She inspired fear from the bottom of his heart. Who could laugh at him for it? Elsa narrowed her eyes like a snake in response to his silence. But even as he felt her gaze pinning him down, he would not allow himself to show weakness by averting his eyes. She licked her lips at his bravado.
I am somewhat interested, but it's fine. It wouldn't do to cause a fuss right now.
That's not a very nice thing to say. Act too scary. And that beauty will go to waste, you know.
Very nice. Hide your hostility and it'd be even better.
She reached out and lightly tapped his forehead with her finger, and the simple gesture released the tension from his body. Subaru exhaled, his shoulders heaving, and Elsa placed her finger against her lip.
Well then, I'll be taking my leave. I get the feeling we'll see each other again.
If it's a bright place with lots of people around, I'll be able to relax too.
It took everything he had in order to get those sarcastic words out. Elsa flipped her cloak with a longing smile as she disappeared into the alley's darkness. After he watched her quite literally disappear, Subaru felt exhaustion rush through him as he leaned against the wall.
That was an unexpected encounter. Seriously, to think she was prowling around here before going to the loot house.
This unexpected encounter almost tore his heart apart. In terms of mental preparation, this was far more of a shock than Natsatella. He wanted to pray that this would be his last encounter with her if possible.
Ah, Felt's place should be around here, I believe. But surely, it's not possible that Elsa already destroyed it?
She was a pervert who drowned in pleasure when she sliced people's bellies open. It wouldn't be strange if she carved up a few people to kill time before the appointment. Furthermore, now that he was heading deeper into the slums, he couldn't help but imagine all sorts of horrors.
It's probably okay. There isn't the stench of blood, nor do I see any. Maybe.
The garbage and the rotten smell made it impossible to discern the smell of blood. It was too dark for him to confirm if there were any bloodstains around, but there definitely wasn't any blood. That's what he wanted to think. He didn't have the courage to run right now, so he slowly continued onward with stealthy steps. Even the hum of an insect or the sight of a not yet empty bottle of alcohol would cause him to freak out as he searched. About 5 minutes after his encounter with Elsa, he finally reached a run-down shack.
This should be it, according to my information. Does a human really live here?
Subaru tilted his head as he stood in front of a wooden board that seemed to be the door. The shack before him was around the size of 2 of those porta-potties one would see around construction sites and the like. It felt like someone was actually putting the saying, half a mat to stand on, a lone mat to sleep, into practice.
This is definitely what you would call a place to sleep. So, I guess that's about right.
Even so, the idea of such a small girl living in a place like this caused him to feel some pity. He felt like he could forgive her, that her ambition and greed couldn't really be helped.
She's curling up her already small body and living in a place like this? Oh, no wonder her personality would turn out so warped. It just couldn't be helped. Poor thing. How pitiful.
You're going way too far. It's disgusting. I can't believe you're looking around someone else's bedroom like that.
As he was entering his sympathetic mode, a voice from behind him caused him to turn around. Before his eyes was a small blonde girl staring at him with disgust. Felt. She didn't look particularly different from their previous meetings. That her slightly dirty clothes were now dirtier than usual was probably a sign that the chase was much more intense this time.
What's with that increasingly pitying expression? You looking down on me like that just because I'm a girl? A little bit more filthy?
It's a different sentiment, but most of all, I'm glad we could meet.
She made no attempt to hide her displeasure, and Subaru instinctively dropped his shoulders in relief. He was truly happy that he was able to find the girl he was looking for. He was worried about what might have happened after his near miss with Elsa, but looked like things were alright after all. In response to his murmur, she snorted.
What? Are you a customer?
She stared at him, still cautious.
Since you came all the way here, I assume you have some business with me? Judging by your look, you're not from around here.
Oh, to see that I'm not one of you. You've got good eyes.
Even the guys around here are a little more careful about their appearance. That level of filth is just unusual. In truth, you're even dirtier than us right now.
As usual, she always had a comeback, and it made him want to retract his earlier sympathy. Felt ignored his inner feelings even as his veins popped and stepped back.
Well, what do you want? If you want something stolen, I'll need payment in advance. Depending on the target, I may ask for more than the fact.
Commissioned thefts? This sure is a greedy business you're running. Are you proud of your sticky fingers?
It's how I stay alive. If it weren't for this, I'd have to sell my body. So what'll it be? Or do you perhaps have some other business? Depending on what it is.
Belt rapidly moved her fingers to show off her dexterity. Suddenly, a small knife appeared in her hands as if by magic. Probably a warning that depending on why he was here, she would use it to defend herself. Speaking practically, if he ended up fighting her now, he would have no chance of winning. She would just disappear from his sight with that speed of hers, and before he knew it, he would complete the stab to death in the back alley, bad end 2 route.
What I want is just one thing. I want to purchase the insignia you stole, right here and right now.
And that is the end of chapter 16.
Yay, you guys did great. Pachi, pachi, pachi.
Pachi, pachi, pachi.
Yay, yay, everyone.
Yeah.
Great
Yay.
job, friends.
Wow, okay, so we got a few gifted memberships for the first time.
We did. That's wild. Okay, let's take a quick look. Oh, thank you for the claps, everyone. Also, let's
Let's explain that, because this is new for us. We have memberships now.
It is
excite
new.
you?
So new, Kyle's doesn't know how to use it. I'm gonna pull it
Yeah.
up right now.
Well, we're just rolling out memberships, and there's going to be particular rewards in the future from being a member. Whether it's independent streams that only you'll be able to see as a member, or some other ideas that we're going to start floating out around and see how that is. This is a great way to support the stream. We weren't comfortable doing it before because we weren't consistent. But now that we're back into the swing of things, this is the way that we think is best to monetize our project in the short term. So I hope you guys all enjoy it, and consider becoming a member if you want to support the stream.
Yes, that's right. Everything Gold said is accurate. I'm going to quickly run through the list of our members that we have so far. So far we have Maddie, Omega, Connor Jensen, Proof Space, Strips Chicken, Pal, Belly2, and Planet. Welcome everyone to the memberships. As I said earlier, the first thing we're going to do for our members is I'm going to release the Liliana chapters as I complete them to the members first, so you guys get to hear it with the music, and then it's going to be released to the public with all, I think it's like 6 or 7 chapters at once. So you get them in advance, and I'm going to try to do that for future chapters as well. Can't guarantee it for all of them, but since this is a huge chunk of chapters, that's the plan. I also have a couple of plans in the works as well for Arc 6 in terms of an opening that I'm working on with a couple people, and I'm arranging different people for different things, so stay tuned. Any memberships that come in, it'll be put towards that, so thank you so much. And we are hopefully going to do some merch launching somewhere towards the middle of Arc 6. Once we're back in the swing of things for good, we know we're consistent, and we can actually work with our artists to pay them for their work before we do a merch launch. So that's our big future plans. Yay! Woo!
Yay! The gears are turning,
A
everybody.
real YouTube channel. Who would have thought it?
Concrete is
Man, so weird.
It is so.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been a real YouTube channel in quotes.
Beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
so nice.
So nice, so nice. I won't lie. Me being dumb and reading through the ReZero Discord channel and the Witch Cult Translations channel really sparked a fire in my ass about how many people were saying shit about us. So that really helped. So thanks to those.
Spite is Kylie's biggest.
It's a good motivator.
It's a great motivator.
Yeah. How will
Help
they
her,
feel once
Spite.
I get all this
Get the
done?
mic.
Oh, sorry. 2 of you are talking. What happened?
Go ahead, Gold.
I just pretty much said I was imitating Kyle. I was like, how will they feel when I get all this done? Ah.
I'll probably cry. Probably cry
I know.
once we get there. All right, Connor, what did you say?
I said if you want to do a help Kyle Spite, don't forget to leave a like on the stream and the videos afterwards.
Please! Yes!
Do
Yeah,
it.
support the Spite.
Support the spite. Amen. I just made a mess all over our computer and Wolf is looking at me. Alright, let's keep moving on because I made a mess. Alright, this chapter is chapter 17. We will need narrators, Subaru, Felt, and Rom. So, Drad, if you're still good, I guess you're
Ready.
Ready.
Okay, I'll narrate this. That's all right.
Golden narrator. Everyone ready? I'm gonna restart the music real quick. Alright, ready when you guys are. Oh, Gold, you start us off with the chapter.
Yep. Arc 1, Chapter 17, Negotiation in the Loot House.
What I want is just one thing. I want to purchase the insignia you stole, right here and right now.
Having reached this point, Super decided that beating around the bush would only worsen her impression of him. Not to mention, Elsa was prowling around the area, so he wanted to finish this up as soon as possible. However, this caused Felt to become even more cautious. She placed her hand on her chest, presumably where she was keeping the insignia.
How do you know that I stole an insignia? I don't imagine the one who requested it would have leaked that. And only I just stole it. It certainly isn't the sort of thing you just happen to hear.
Now that you mention it, that was far too hasty. I'm so damned careless.
You can't possibly negotiate with anyone if you show your hand that easily. You crumbled way too easily for a bit of pressure.
As Subaru stressed over his thoughtless blunder, the hostility left Felt's face. Subaru crouched down with his head in his knees, and Felt knelt down to meet his gaze as she spoke.
Well, you want to purchase this insignia? What's that about? You're not with the woman who made the request, right? A business rival or something?
I guess you could call her a business rival, but there's probably a mountain of things that doesn't cover.
I don't get it, but I really don't care about that anyway.
As Subaru agonized over how to talk himself out of this one, Felt seemed indifferent as she laughed it off. She then extracted the draconic insignia from her bosom. In her hand was the insignia, the jewel within it glowing red. She dangled it before him as if to flaunt it.
I'll just sell it to whoever can offer me the highest price. That woman will probably be mad if I scrap her request, though.
It's even possible she'll go crazy, but... Never mind, I'm just talking to myself.
Setting aside these words that would only complicate things, Subaru once again cleared his throat and donned a serious expression.
So, you going to allow me to negotiate for it?
I'll hear anyone out as long as they can bring in some profit. Ain't it obvious?
Talk about strong will. I'm going to be offering an item more than 20 holy gold coins. I would like to use it to purchase your insignia.
I see. You're offering quite a bit, huh? That'd certainly reward my efforts. But your rival's offering that much too, you know.
Yeah, right. The deal was 10 holy gold coins. Too much greed is going to kill you, you know. Seriously.
Practically speaking, he did think that was probably why the first massacre happened. Cause of death? Greed. Since he even knew the exact number, she must have thought her tricks wouldn't work. After her eyes widened slightly, she scratched her head in resignation.
What? You even know that much? That's right. It was 10 holy gold coins. Even so, once she learns she's got a rival, she's bound to offer more. Isn't that right?
You sure about that?
The edges of the perhaps 14, maybe 15-year-old girl's lips curled upward. Subaru felt a certain amount of admiration for her boldness.
She sure is sly.
He was also excited at the prospect of negotiating from a superior position like this.
I don't suppose you'd listen if I asked to make the deal right here and now.
Obviously. I mean, the stuff you said earlier is pretty sus, too. I definitely didn't mishear you. And what you said was not that you have 20 holy gold coins, but rather something worth that much. It's unfair for only one side to know what cards you're being played in a negotiation, right?
I think what really matters in a negotiation is how much you can prepare beforehand. But I suppose it's also true that you can't make a decision without knowing what I've got.
He didn't want to waste time with her grumbling. Making a decision, he pulled this negotiation's key item, his cell phone, out of his breast pocket. The sight of the small contraption caused Felt to raise her eyebrows slightly, but that was it. As usual, she didn't really care unless there was a clear connection to money.
That's supposed to be worth 20 holy gold coins? Doesn't look any different from a hand mirror or something to me.
This is one of those meteor things that are all the rage these days. It can freeze a moment in time. Alright, now check this out. Natsuki Flash ×8!
Subaru turned on continuous shooting mode, causing mechanical sounds and flashes of light to emanate in rapid succession. White light filled the alley, and as the light covered her, Felt reacted to the sounds and flashes with a rather unfeminine shriek. Subaru's happy to have gotten a better reaction than last time, and quickly thrust the screen before her. When it looked like she wanted to complain, her red eyes widened in surprise.
This is the power of this meteor. It can produce exquisite pictures in this manner. And if you'll let me add some PR speak, it's the only one of its kind in this world. So, how about it?
As Subaru looked down at her with pride, Felt hummed in response. She examined the phone in his hand closely, and when she looked it over, she nodded, in understanding.
Doesn't look like you're lying. But is this supposed to be me? You said it produced a clear picture of the world, but I think I'm prettier than this.
I get the feeling that you've got a fine base, but when the presentation is this bad, there's really nothing to be said. If we cleaned you up and put you in some nice clothes, you'd be a totally different person for sure.
That condescending attitude and the way you ended that sentence pisses me off. Kinda makes me want to never show you that.
He had needlessly provoked her, but Felt's attitude still seemed favorable. However, it was the strength of the slum dwellers that they didn't get along with others' plans easily. Felt smiled sadistically at his proud expression.
I'll admit, you got something unusual here, but it's still unclear how much it's worth, you know. Let me warn you, I'm not so much of an airhead to just accept everything and the other party says. I'm not going to believe this is an easy 20 holy gold coins just like that.
Well, that's obvious. I wouldn't really mind if your brain were a sponge, but I suppose we do need a third party's opinion.
It would have been nice to keep things going and settle it right here, but he did expect that it might not work. The problem now was who to use as a third party.
Deep in the slums, there's a place called the Loot House. The place is as the same word suggests. I think it would be quick as sassy old geezer in there. He appraises things fairly, you know. He's got some experience, so he should be able to judge a meteor as well.
Oh, it comes to this after all.
He also expected that she would end up suggesting this. From her perspective, the Loot House was the place she was supposed to meet Elsa, and also a place that had a bodyguard she could rely on in case things got violent. When you also add the appraisal of the meteor, there was really no other choice. Despite this, Subaru had really wished to settle this before they reached the Loot House.
I'm fine with having Gramps take a look, but
You're suddenly calling him Gramps even though you've never even met him? You might end up regretting that, you know. He's actually pretty scary if you're rude to him.
although he does seem to dote on a certain foul-mouthed girl giving her milk and stuff.
This was clearly irrelevant, but Subaru did feel like it was as if he was doting on his granddaughter. Regardless, the problem wasn't the person, but the location.
Can you not call him out here or something? You can use my phone if you want.
I'd have no clue how to use it, even if I wanted to.
That's true, isn't it? I've only got family and stuff in here anyway.
He opened up his contacts list and saw he also had the police station, fire department, ambulance, time announcement service, weather report, etc., etc., all padding out his otherwise lonely contact list.
Booyah!
I don't know what your issue is, but if you're in a hurry, let's head there right away. There was a little something I wanted to do, though.
Something you wanted to do?
Uh-huh. The owner was a lot more persistent than I expected. It was a real pain to get away, so I wanted to slow her down. Give him a little more money and the guys around here will happily do it.
Alright, let's go. Right now. Immediately. In a flash!
As Felt started walking, Subaru started pushing her shoulders from behind and hurried her toward the loot house.
What the hell?
She pouted as Subaru hurried her, congratulating himself for minimizing unnecessary damage. Trying to hinder not Satella while she was chasing after her insignia, there was a limit to how far you could go for a little money. If it meant them being blasted by ice and writhing in pain, it was probably better they just stay home, clenching their empty stomachs.
We'll just have him look at it quickly and then seal the deal right on the spot.
Man, why are you in such a hurry? You're getting pretty sweaty. Live strong.
Looks like everyone around here says that. Is it a slogan or something?
Subaru thought it ought to be revised to live stubborn. Leaving such impressions behind, he headed to the loot house for the third time in this fourth world. He'd get out immediately. He'd dash out of there. He'd leave even if he had to leave them behind. Having come to the decision internally, Subaru was fired up and pushed hard at the shoulders before him.
Hey! That hurts! That hurts!
He was kicked.
To the rats.
Do they sell boric acid dumplings here? Poison!
To the skeletons.
Digging is a lot harder than you'd expect, you know. A pitfall.
To the noble dragon we are.
That probably really exists since this is a fantasy world, but if I were to actually face it, I definitely wouldn't be able to do anything. It certainly fascinates me though, so I do want to meet it. I can't save this wavering heart of mine. However, I can't say I dislike it. A real shitbag of a feeling.
Can't you just say the password without adding all that crap? You're too damn annoying.
The door opened from within with such force that it was like it had been kicked open, but Subaru hadn't anticipated this and quickly leaped backward to avoid taking damage. There was a giant standing there, too tall for the door and growling in frustration. It was the bald old man Rom, whom Subaru was already familiar with. His face was red. It seemed like his blood pressure had spiked.
You'll have an aneurysm if too much blood flows into your head. That's pretty dangerous, even with modern medicine.
If you know it's bad for me, don't anger me. What's with you? I have to keep this place cleared out for today, so you can enter. You can. Serves you right.
Rom stamped his feet in a very immature fashion, but that smirk off his face was the one hiding behind Subaru. A woman.
Sorry. This guy's one of my guests too. Let him in, Grandpa Rom.
Felt. She looked at Rom with sympathy as his shoulders dropped in disappointment. She then cast a sidelong glance at Subaru, whose expression was apathetic as he whistled.
You got a pretty horrible attitude, huh? It really sucks. That's putting it lightly.
I just somehow end up wanting to tease people. The type that shines when they get to mess with people. I guess, huh? I thought I discovered my sub-tendencies, but it turns out I was a dom as well? Is this the perfect offense and defense?
I don't know, and I don't think I want to know, so drop it. Grandpa Rom, we're coming in.
Felt slipped by Rom, who was tilting his head, and entered the loot house as if it was completely natural. Rom's gaze seeking an explanation was ignored, so he turned his confused face towards Subaru instead. Subaru nodded at his wrinkled face.
This is why self-centered people are troublesome. Average fellows like us just get left behind, huh?
I'd like to start over from when I was teaching her to talk. Get in quickly.
Rom seemed to have given up on everything as he carelessly shrank his giant frame and went back in. Following him, Subaru entered as well, welcomed by the dusty interior. Still cautious, he snuck a glance inward, but fortunately didn't look like Elsa or Natsatella were lying in wait. Felt casually sat at the counter, drinking some milk like she owned the place. She noticed his gaze.
What? This is the only cold one. I'm not giving it to you.
Your shamelessness doesn't bother you at all, huh? Old man Rom, I'll take some booze.
You're just as shameless as she is. I'm not giving you any. None at all.
The floor creaked under Rom's giant body as he ran to the other side of the counter to hide a box that seemed to contain his drinks.
Just joking.
Subaru chuckled at Rom's turmoil over his box. That almost inspired pity.
I see. So that's where your alcohol is. Now that I know, it's practically mine already.
You're saying that out loud? Trying to loot booze from the owner of the loot house. You trying to be lower than the lowest?
Whoa, you make me blush. And it's not like I'm doing the stealing myself. I'll be hiring Felt.
Sorry, old man. I can't turn down a job.
Will no one take my side? Isn't this my house?
By this point, he was actually worried about Rom's blood pressure, so he decided to stop teasing him. Felt seemed disappointed since she was just getting into it, but Subaru brushed her off with an ingratiating smile and turned to the counter. He didn't want to sit on these seats any longer than he had to, so he got to the point right away.
Alright, old man. We got sidetracked, but let's get to the point.
Feels to me like that was mostly your fault, but, What do you want?
What I want to request is an appraisal, basically. I'd like you to put a price on this meteor I've bought and guarantee its value to Felt.
Rom's gray eyes became serious when the conversation turned to business. He looked to Felt to confirm this, and returned his gaze to Subaru after she nodded. His eyes suggest he wanted to see the item, and Subaru took it out of his pocket. What first caught his eyes was its metallic appearance. It looked like a toy in his oversized hands as he gently handled it.
This is a meteor, huh? Even I've never seen one like this before.
There's probably only one of these in the world. Also, it's pretty delicate, so handle it carefully. It's like one of those levels where if the item breaks, you die.
Meaning a retry for Subaru. As Rom felt around its exterior, he gently opened the flip phone. Its startup sound was what first surprised him, and the wallpaper was the next surprise.
This picture is...
I thought it was perfect timing, you see. To show you how effective this thing is, I decided to use a scene from Felt's Day as the wallpaper.
The phone's wallpaper had been set to one of the pictures of Felt he had just recently taken. He picked the one he thought looked the cutest, and the image quality was decent as well, so he thought it was pretty nice to look at. Rom compared the picture with the real Felt who was sipping milk right next to him.
What a surprise. I don't think there's anything out there that could produce such an excellent picture.
It's a meteor that steals away a moment in time, you see. A human couldn't draw anything close to this, right? I could even photograph you if you'd like.
I'm interested, but it's also somewhat frightening. It doesn't ruin your life or anything, right?
Regardless of the age and regardless of the world, looking at a picture brings to mind that kind of superstition, huh?
Rom's reaction felt like it came from the last century, before the Taisho period. Next to him, Felt's ears pricked up when they started talking about lifespan. Subaru reassured them by clarifying.
You'll live to 80 just fine, even if you get photographed.
Then he used the camera function to take Rom's photo. Rom hummed as he looked at the picture. Doing this before his very eyes was probably sufficient as a demonstration of the phone's abilities. He already knew from personal experience that Rom's impression of the phone would be favorable anyway.
This is definitely something amazing. If I was selling this, I'd take at least 15, no, 20 holy gold coins. That's how much it's worth.
Perhaps his smuggler spirit had been stimulated, his eyes were sparkling. He dealt in stolen goods. Subaru wondered if such an occupation was really one to be proud of, but he was still relieved to receive Rom's seal of approval. Subaru turned to Felt, his nostrils flaring as his face filled with pride.
Well, that's what I'm offering you. Just as I said, an item worth more than 20 holy gold coins. I'd like to trade this for your insignia.
Seems you make that face often. It's annoying.
Perhaps unhappy that things went as he expected, Felt's expression was one of displeasure. But still, that didn't change the fact that this meant she had a windfall coming her way. Her gaze moved toward the cell phone in Rom's hand.
Well, I'm definitely happy now that I have a guarantee that this thing can make me some money. It looks like I don't need to doubt your claim of 20 holy gold coins either. Alright, I accept the card you're playing.
For real? Okay, negotiations went off without a hitch. Selling it is up to you. Do your best. Anyway, I'm in a hurry, so I'll be taking my leave now.
He approached Felt in a hurry and extended his hand, seeking the insignia. However, his palm was gently pushed away. When Subaru raised his eyebrow, Felt brought her face close to his.
Hold on a moment. Why are you in such a hurry?
It's not like I'm in a hurry or anything. Also, your face is too close.
What? You're the sort of guy that gets shy when a girl gets close to you?
Nah, you probably haven't bathed in several days, so there's this terrible stench.
She walloped his jaw from directly below. The pain of biting his tongue brought tears to Subaru's eyes as he recoiled.
You sure don't go easy on the girls, huh?
You can't take a little joke! I'm already shedding blood here!
The cut in his mouth was fairly deep, and the metallic taste brought back some unpleasant feelings. Felt's face turned red, and she covered her face with her shoulder-length hair.
Do I really smell that much?
I I just said that to hide my embarrassment. It's what I'd like to tell you, but I can't lie to myself.
He turned his face away, still teary-eyed, and collapsed on the spot, his teary form looking rather effeminate. The triviality of this accent felt beyond the point of anger, and she simply took deep breaths with her fingers on her forehead.
All right,
I think it's wrong.
hold on a moment. Let's get back to where we're talking about. Calm down. Cool off. Oh, I'm sorry, I have no clue.
It's Rom, I think. Yeah.
Which one?
All right, hold on a moment, that one.
Right. Hold on a moment. Ah, sorry. All right, hold on a moment. Let's get back to what we were talking about. Calm down, cool off.
What we were talking about, huh? What we were talking about, huh? Yeah, that's right. For now, I think it'd be best to start cleaning up around your bed. There's quite a bit of garbage around there. So, even when you sleep, the stink...
How about we forget about my stench and get back to the other thing?
Oh, you sure kick quickly.
She kicked forward in embarrassment and scored a clean hit on Subaru's jaw due to the position he was crouching in. He didn't bite his tongue like last time, but he hadn't even stopped bleeding yet, and the second impact caused even more blood to pour out.
Drinking too much blood makes me feel absolutely horrible.
If you've learned your lesson, take our conversation more seriously. Well, getting back to our return on the topic at hand, I'll ask you again. Why are you in such a hurry?
She extinguished the anger from her expression and looked as cold as she could as she asked this. Rom read the mood and remained silent, so he couldn't look to him for help. Subaru shrugged his shoulders in resignation.
Life doesn't last forever. Every second is precious. I don't want to waste any time.
Ah, right. That's enough of that. Hey!
Subaru attempted to cover things up, but felt stopped him in his tracks. Her red eyes narrowed, and with a detached attitude, she finally pierced the heart of the matter.
For starters, why do you even want this insignia?
And that's the end of the chapter.
Oh,
Well, I was fumbling. Everybody was. The dog was trying to get you both.
Holy shit, we were fighting for our fucking lives with this damn dog.
Yeah. Oh my god. You guys were wrestling. You're getting ganked by the dog the entire time.
Every other time I started a line, she'd be like...
Literally, when I was fumbling like crazy, I was standing behind Wolf, holding Sierra down while trying to read, but I can't see that far. So that's why I ended up saying sus like an idiot. I couldn't read.
It was funny because it made sense still, but it was
Great job, everybody. Pachi pachi.
yeah. Clap, clap, clap.
Clap.
I won't lie.
all over
This
the
chapter
place.
was a nightmare.
But now it's over, it's done with, it never has to be seen again.
Exactly. It was fun, though.
It was.
A great job. And don't even worry about the proofreading. That was one little mistake out of... There's so many. There's so many things that could have gone wrong. It's totally fine. This next chapter has a lot of us. Holy cow.
Oh boy.
Also, for Vismec, yes, we're still back. Or we're still here. We're still fighting. We're fighting a good fight. We're trying our best.
We're fighting for our damn lives.
Alright, friends. We have Subaru, of course, check. Felt, check. Rom, check. Amelia, check. Puck, check. Elsa,
Check.
check. Narrator.
Hello.
Gojo, hello, you're here.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've just
he's been
been
here
here.
since the first chapter.
Yeah.
The fuck?
He snuck in.
I try to speak up and no one heard me.
Quiet. Hi, Gojo, how's it going?
I'm late. That too.
Oh my god, feel free to always let us know. I don't hear any of the pings when you guys come in because I turned it off for the stream.
Good.
So
That's
just,
a good thing.
Just type, well, okay, I don't look at the chat. No, I didn't message the server with the live stream. Sorry, Maddie. Are you doing okay standing up behind me and reading?
Oh yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm keeping an eye on the dog and
Thank you.
also...
Beauty.
Are you gonna be good to do both not Satella and Felt, Kyle's?
Totally can, but I was seeing who else is here. If somebody wants lines, they could be felt, but I am
think
so
it's-
easy to do both.
I don't think we have anybody else who can do it because Elsa's there, and then yeah.
True. Yeah, no, it's easy.
I could try Felt, but
Nah, it wouldn't play off well. It wouldn't play off well. No.
Are you sure it wouldn't play off well?
Ooh, that's
Ooh,
good.
Well,
that's pretty good.
I was just meaning the Elsa.
No, I know.
dynamic, yeah.
I have to talk to myself for a bit.
Also has split personality.
Yeah. I feel like Amelia and Felt don't talk to each other in this chapter, if I remember right. So
No,
it's
I
gotta
don't
be
think so
okay.
either. Yeah.
They're like,
I think they actually do for
Oh.
at least a little bit of time.
I think they
argue
do,
about
yeah.
what they steal.
I'm gonna be real. Nothing new for me. I talk to myself all day, every day.
I used to with the Overlord reading, so I'm fine with it either way.
Let's go.
Gojo, do you want to narrate this one?
Sure.
Yay!
Yeah.
We got Gojo narrating. We got all of our other characters. Yeah. All right. I was trying to think. I think there's something I meant to say in between these chapters. I don't remember.
Memberships?
Maybe. Let's see. Was there anyone new? I don't think so. I think we're caught
I
up
don't
with
think
memberships.
so, yeah.
Let's go. Now I remember how much I
Yay.
cringed at the beginning of ReZero. Fucking truth.
Oh yeah, Subaru is even worse here in the web novel too than
Didn't know
normal.
he was this much of a dick.
I
love
was
how
annoyed.
Cringe. It's so good. You're having fun playing cringe, Subaru?
I mean, I am cringe, so it works out.
He is
No,
cringe.
you're not.
He is free.
No.
I am cringe.
You're
I'm so-
cool.
Oh, Drad, no! Don't flatter me like this. This is
You're
embarrassing.
cool.
You're cool.
You're cool.
No, you.
Get close to the mic, damn it!
I'm embarrassed.
No, I hear him.
He's running away because he's so cool. He can't stand the heat from
yeah.
hot
I
stream.
just can't
He's
stay still.
melting. Oh God.
Gotta be illegal to be
I
this
live that
cool.
nomadic lifestyle. I can't stay in one place. I'm sorry. I just have to have sunglasses and a backpack on my back, and I'm ready. Okay.
That's pretty good. Minimalist.
I'm like
Yeah. Like the Mongols.
like the Mongols. Hey yo.
They didn't even need like towels. They just wiped their hands on their clothes, which added like a layer of fat that was protecting them from the cold. Dude, it was great. It was
Hey,
great.
those were good times, all right. Millions. of
Bathe
people
once a
dying.
year.
Mm.
Kill everyone. Nothing better in the world, man.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see that when we finally get to Gusteko at some point.
Oh,
Very
dude.
true,
Got
actually.
it. Oh
Dude,
my
that's
God.
crazy.
Gojo, you were a bit after this, but the links to the Google Drive versions lost the formatting. If you want the ones that's easier to read, you can go to my my last message in proofread chapters that has the direct downloads.
Oh, direct downloads. Chapter 18?
Also send it to.
Yeah,
Yes, 18.
correct.
Correct.
Does Subaru call Felt stinky in the anime?
No.
Definitely not.
No,
Okay.
certainly not.
I was just
Cowards.
I
trying
was
to think of it.
shocked.
Can you imagine if Subaru had like deodorant in his bag too? It's like, yo, Felt, I got a special product just for you to buy.
He actually takes the opposite approach. That one was honestly brutal enough that I went back and watched the anime as I was editing it, just to make sure I was getting the understandings right. And he says that you look like perfect now and you would look better with makeup, rather than saying you probably look okay, but everything else makes you look ugly.
That's funny.
Oh God.
Ouch.
He just pulled no punches. I mean, he doesn't even think about a poor young girl's feelings.
I mean, Subaru
Nope.
actually swears in the web novel. It's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Hmm.
That's
drinks.
true.
You know what doesn't love it? AdSense. But that's okay.
Like, we could just we can make an excuse. It's a cultural thing. I'm British.
British.
Brett.
Yeah, he said bruv.
He did say bruv. I heard that. I was like,
Awesome.
was that in the translation? I was
No,
like,
no, I'm sorry. I did that myself just because I thought Subaru tried to be a bit chav in this moment from the context of him having this sort of British accent.
That was a unique, creative, choice. I liked it.
Live adaptation.
Yay!
That's
Alright.
actually been one of the ways I was considering writing when he actually speaks English, was just to put in like the British equivalent of them.
Honestly,
Right.
Connor, when we do this, feel free to make it based on everyone reading. That's what I'm kind of doing for my chapters, because Witch Cult doesn't want them anyways, so it's just for us. So it works out. Go
Yeah, I'm still
ham.
finding the perfect verbs and adverbs to describe per wolf to get it. Devious and devious seemed to work really well for him that last one. So I have a note to keep that one on hand.
Hey, yo, let's go.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Yeah. Oh, I guess we could announce this too while we're here, and Wolf needs a moment before we get started too. To everybody who's been watching our Arc 1 series, I will be editing them and chopping them up once Arc 1 is done, so they're all self-contained. And then from there, we're going to keep going on with Arc 2, 3, and 4, but the web novel for Arc 2 and 3 is not fully complete. So myself and Connor are trying our best to localize it. So the translating part is easy. We just Google Translate. We're going to try to localize it so we have access to those chapters because they still haven't been translated yet. I've seen a lot of people get angry about us localizing these chapters, but it's kind of important for voice acting.
Philistines.
And the theme of the story kind of
Yeah.
always gets preserved because we understand it enough, right? Like it's not
We
like
do.
we're missing much by changing the way in which dialogue is structured. It's usually just for the benefit of the listeners and also us as people who are voice acting in the moment. Like honestly, it doesn't change much, and a lot of times even improved because Japanese to English doesn't always fit well verbally, right? Like
Exactly.
it's hard to really say things and have it sound natural if we're doing only purely literal translation. So keep that in mind, right?
ruining my immersion.
It's
You have no idea how many times a chapter starts with "to begin with" or "that being said" or
Yeah.
Oh,
however,
yeah.
going from there. It's like almost every paragraph has the start for that, and it just you don't notice it if you read, but when you read it aloud, it becomes really
That
really
happened a
obvious.
lot with the Overlord translations too. There were so many that being saids and stuff like that.
Mhm.
yeah, I was just gonna say
Oh.
when you're reading it, obviously it's a completely different experience from reading it aloud, I'd say. So like the kind of experience is slightly different, and we're not trying to say that our work is better than the original work or that we're superior. We're just saying that the way we are adapting it in our current format this is the way it works better.
Yeah, this is the best way that we're trying to do it in, and like it's all for the sake of you as listeners. It's not making a statement on the quality of the original work at all. And I mean, I think people need to get that. I mean, like clear because there's a clear distinction. There's a nuance there that people probably, if they're complaining about it, don't really get, which is that like in the way that you kind of translate things from Japanese to English, there has to be a separation because like there's a lot of turns of phrases that Japanese people use that has a equivalent in English, but just never seems right if you kind of like write it all out like in the moment, right? And it's like sometimes, right? Even like just think about it, like naturally, it's like sometimes an entire phrase in English that would translate it more literally is just like one word in Japanese. So like it's actually just easy for them to put these words out there and have it mean something. But for us, we'd have to actually say it out, and it would be disjointed and kind of choppy. So kind of understand that we're trying to preserve the media in the best way that we can, in the format and the language that we understand, and that's it. And there's nothing else to it. So that's all it is.
Some
Additionally,
say that
aside from any
localization-
like tiny grammar things or just erasing the 15th to begin with in a row, any major localizations or translations that I either change or take a different route, I keep at the top of all the chapters. So if you read along with us, you can see those at the beginning of it all.
Yeah, and you're really good with that. Also, if you ever want to see what it's like for us to voice act without localizing or proofreading, please check out Arc 5, Chapter 1, and let us know how you feel about that shit show.
Honestly, 100%.
Reading
100%.
that was fucking brutal for my first time live. I was shitting myself.
Yeah, 100%.
I was like, what is this? So we appreciate everyone's patience and understanding.
I remember when we did Arc, like the first chapters completely unedited, like from the original form.
Yeah.
It was like we had to literally every single time in between chapters when we were talking about the chapter be like, okay, well this is I think I understand what they meant, and I know that it sounded weird there, but like that's just like how it is, that's how they phrase in Japanese. But like then we kind of started to break free from that and was like, it's just too much hassle. Let's just try to improve this for everybody's sake, you know?
It's great when you're reading it internally because you can take that time to like analyze it and go, oh, okay, that's what it means. But when you're taking it in a medium like this, you want your voice actors to say it right the first time or else you're yoinked out of that immersion. So the less pitfalls we have, the easier our job is.
We're just trying to smooth out our own interpretation of the work.
Especially since a lot of our VAs also aren't very familiar with anime too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that if you're reading a bunch of anime or like watching a bunch of anime, in the subtitles you see turns of phrases and you hear the way that Japanese people speak, and you're like, okay, I understand why this like phrase keeps on like showing up. But for people that don't, it's like, okay, why do they keep on saying like seriously or like other things that are just like one word in Japanese,
Why is it Amelia-tan? What the frick?
Yeah,
Her name's Amelia.
Or even stuff like that. I mean, that's the reason why we don't have stuff like that unless it's relevant to the context of the story.
I have no idea on if we should do anything with Tan when that starts in Arc 2 or how to switch that, because there is no English equivalent other than going like Amelia in like English.
No, but
that's how cringe that's supposed to be.
Honestly,
I'm
you do
did
right.
something for that.
In Polish, funny enough, we do have diminutives, so that just works. But in English, it is tough, so I do see that.
I'm mistaken. The English dub, they just gave her a nickname. I think it was like Mealy or something.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
but then Mealy is a whole nother character, right? Yeah.
That's Mealy. That's why
Mealy.
that's probably gonna get dropped.
Go with Mealy. Do it.
Yeah, that works too. Planet, yes. So actually, Hollow was the one that started setting up proofreads with Fanta. So Fanta's our proofreader for Arc 5 onwards. And then Palzard's currently doing it for us for Arc 1 to 4, just because most of Witch Cult doesn't want to touch the earlier arcs anymore, which don't blame them. I talked to Ice about it, and Ice doesn't want our translations or localizations anyway, so this is just our own project for it, and helping ourselves out, and then also helping you guys. Because Hollow did start off the translations and the localizations, I think, around Arc 5, Chapter 4 or 5. It was very early on.
Yeah, and naturally we respect all the people who've translated this project over time, and without it, a lot of people wouldn't be able to, pick up and, have the opportunity to read the series in general. But be that as that may, it doesn't mean that we can't do our own thing for our own project. And, we give them all the respect for what they do. And if we use some of their things, we'll credit them. But we haven't for a while now, and we've been kind of doing our own thing, so. And
usually in the descriptions, when I actually keep up with them, I have the Witch Cult translation link. I'm starting to add in Tepe's link as well, and also the proofread version that Fanta has on Google Drive. And I also link any ones that Palazar does in our chat. Sometimes I forget a chapter or two, so just remind me. But yeah, so we try to keep it as credited as possible. And of course, we appreciate our translators. Without them, we wouldn't have this to begin with. And it's super important to have this too, because not everyone can access this. The whole reason why we started doing the localizations and like proofreading in the first place is a lot of those chapters don't have like a thing in front of it to say who's speaking. So that is so hard for us to plan it out, because we throughout
it's even pretty hard to read too.
It is, yeah. And so while we're reading in the lives, we're also checking Discord, because if there's any question marks, we're trying to figure out who's saying it really fast. I'm controlling the music while also voice acting. Like, it's a lot going on. So if we have those things pre-planned, it's beauty. But it's not needed when you read it in your head. So yeah, I think we hit that conversation pretty well, and hopefully without getting anyone upset.
Yeah, and if you are upset, that's all right.
Yeah, we can always have this dialogue in a different stream too.
Okay. Is everybody ready for the next chapter?
Our Subaru ran away briefly, so
Oh, okay.
we have another moment.
Yeah,
or
we're just
two.
stalling, by the way. This is all this was. This is all just
Stalling.
stalling.
Padding! Padding!
We love
That,
Play
chatting.
tic-tac-toe.
2023 anime season.
Are you
For some
outraged, Sprite?
Outraged? What?
I think Sprite's being a little goose. A silly little goose. Sprite would be messaging in here if
Yeah,
Sprite was
he's
actually
being
angry.
cheeky.
You ready, Subaru?
Yeah.
All right, I'll cue up the music. We all ready?
Yep.
Alrighty. And narrator Kun, feel free to get us started.
Arc 1, Chapter 18, Battle in the Loot House.
For starters, why do you even want this insignia?
They saw Subaru's breath catch, and he realized what a mistake he had made. This was where he needed to brush things off with a casual joke like he had been doing. But instead, his incomplete lack of speaking ability had him displaying his weakness for all to see. In a negotiation, there was nothing that can make you lose your advantage quite like having your weakness exposed. As a result, the edges of Felt's mouth relaxed into response to Subaru's silence.
Me didn't want to say anything either. And it looks like it's the same for you, huh?
Thievery is petty immoral in itself, so naturally anyone involved would have some shady business going on.
You're the shadiest one here. Think about it. What you're trying to do is to snatch away an item requested to be stolen by someone else.
With the cruelty of a cat toying with its prey, Felt incessantly attacked Subaru's incompetence. She then coldly addressed him with a sadistic smile.
What is this insignia anyway? The truth is, it's worth way more than it looks. That's why you all want it, right? In other words, it's worth more than a meteor.
Wait! Felt! That way of thinking is really dangerous. I can pretty much guess at what you're going to say next thanks to my gamer brain. But you better leave it at that.
Subaru saw her miser gauge start to fill up, and tried to keep her in check even as he broke into a cold sweat. At this rate, she'd just keep on raising her price. If that happened, the negotiation would drag on, and they'd walk right into the bad end waiting for them.
It's more than 20 holy gold coins. Just take the deal! Don't try for more than that! The one who hired you can't go over 20 either! You're not going to get more!
And why do you know that? You're slipping up. So you do know her.
How easy it would have been if only he could just declare that he knew because of return by death. But even if he actually tried explaining it, there's no way she'd believe him. The suspicion in her eyes was getting deeper. She probably wouldn't believe a word he said at this point. If it was going to turn out like this, he'd be better off just swiping the insignia from her.
This musty old man's going to be a problem if I try that.
She got you good, kid. Pretty pathetic to be outwitted by a girl younger than you.
It's probably because of how you raised her. Her stubbornness can make me cry.
If he resorted to violence, he'd just get flattened by Rom. Even supposing he were able to snatch it away from her, he didn't think he could outrun her. When it came to a long-distance race, Subaru's ability was pretty low even among his classmates. No matter how much he placed in the top 3 elsewhere, he could only ever manage consolation prizes in long-distance runs, which meant he would generally never get an A.
Felt, please.
Begging won't do you any good. I acknowledge your right to negotiate, but it's hardly fair to end things without even hearing the other party out, right? But it'd be a different matter if you could tell me what this thing is really worth and produce adequate compensation.
Repressing eyes didn't contain the slightest hint of mercy or compassion. Her eyes were completely focused on him, hoping to deduce the truth from his behavior. However, it wouldn't be possible to ascertain the insignia's value no matter how much she stared at him. The reason he wanted the insignia was different from Elsa's. He just wanted to repay a favor. Beyond that, he only knew what it looked like, that it had a jewel embedded in it. He didn't know anything Felt didn't. Thus, it would not be possible for him to give her the response she desired.
The reason I want that insignia is so I can return it to its owner.
Huh?
That's why, with all of his sincerity, he revealed the truth.
I want to return it to its owner. That's why I want it. That's all.
As her eyes widened, Subaru raised his head and repeated his declaration. Her crimson eyes were filled with hostility as she glared at him. But even so, Subaru could only remain silent. He didn't have the leeway to crack jokes. He sincerely got on his knees and lowered his head.
Felt, it doesn't look like this kid is lying.
Don't be fooled, Grandpa Rom. He's clearly screwing around. Return it to its owner? As if he'd pay such a large sum to get it back from the person who stole it. That's absurd. It'd be over if he just brought a guard with him to apprehend me.
He couldn't do that. Natsatella didn't want guards involved in this. That's why he even refused Reinhardt's offer to help. If it was something inconvenient for her, then Subaru wouldn't do it. That was all he could do. His sincere response to her to save his life.
You need to come up with something better if you want to trick me. I won't fall for it no matter how sincere you act. Otherwise, No! I won't fall for it!
Felt.
Felt's voice was hoarse, as if she was trying to get something off of her mind. Rom seemed concerned. Perhaps his pained expression was because he understood what she was feeling. Either way, all Subaru knew was that her obstinate attitude meant she wasn't going to change her mind. In other words, this negotiation had ended in failure.
Who's that?
At that moment, Rom's expression changed as he glared at the entrance to the loot house. Subaru, still on his knees with his head lowered, was currently in shock from the breakdown in negotiations. Because of this, his mind's response was just a little too late. There were several sharp knocks, and Rom silently turned around. His gaze was directed at Felt, who nodded. She pointed to herself.
It might be my client. Seems kinda early, though.
She headed towards the door as she said this. She reached for the door with her anger still evident in her expression. As Subaru watched her from behind, he suddenly felt a terrible sense of unease well up within him. Loot house. Knock. Felt's client. There was only one answer that fit.
Don't open it! We'll all be killed!
This was earlier than expected. The bit of light pouring in from the window was still fairly bright. That orange shade was too brilliant for the sun to have set. In both the first and second worlds, the despair that came after the sun went down. It wasn't as if he was taking things lightly because he thought he had time. But even so, this was still too soon. He still hadn't managed to change anything about this world. His scream filled with a grim determination was futile. He was unable to stop Felt from opening the door. With the door open, the loot house's dim interior was faintly illuminated by the evening glow. And then...
Kill you? I wouldn't do something that drastic without warning.
A silver-haired girl entered the loot house with a sour look on her face.
Thank goodness you're here. You're not getting away this time.
Felt wordlessly backed away at the sight of the silver-haired girl, not Satella. She had a mortified expression as she retreated, and her lips warped in annoyance.
You really are a stubborn woman.
You're quite impertinent for a thief. I won't hurt you if you hand it over quietly.
While Felt seemed to be grinding her teeth, Natsatella's voice was extremely cold. Subaru felt the temperature of the room drop rapidly, and couldn't help but shiver at the changing atmosphere.
Why is not Satella here?
The sun was now setting. From what he had previously experienced, she shouldn't have even reached the entrance to the slums at this point in time. And from there, gathering information would take almost 2 hours. And only then she would reach the loot house. That was how it went on his first attempt.
So basically, she would have gotten here this quickly if I went with her?
If she hadn't healed him in the alley, she would have just made it here on her own. And this quickly. Subaru couldn't describe how he felt now that there was proof of his uselessness that transcended space and time. Even as Subaru felt this emptiness, the situation continued to progress without him. Felt had already crossed the center of the room and reached the back as she continued to retreat, and Natsutella smoothly blocked the path to the door as she turned her palm towards them. The magic being gathered in her palm caused the air to crackle faintly. It seemed like ice magic was her specialty. The room's temperature dropped as she formed icicles.
I have but one demand. Return my insignia. It's important to me.
There were 6 icicles floating in the air. Their tips were rounded, so their power came from their weight rather than their sharpness. But if she scored a direct hit, the damage would definitely be on an entirely different level from those rocks. Of course, Subaru himself was one of the targets, and this made him to break out in a cold sweat. All he could do was watch what happened silently, as to not provoke her.
Param!
I can't move. You picked up something troublesome, and someone troublesome came with it, Felt.
Felt quietly called to him, but Ram shook his head, his giant body filled with tension. The familiar club had appeared in his hand at some point, but his arm didn't look like it could swing it. As if lost, as if bewildered, he alternated between loosening and tightening his grip on it.
Fight hasn't even started, and you're giving up?
I wouldn't withdraw if she were just some magic user, but she's trouble.
Ram chided Felt for her provocation. His gray eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at Natsutella, who had icicles at the ready. His eyes were filled with a strong caution and even stronger reverence as he looked down at her.
Young lady, you're an elf, aren't you?
Ram asked with trembling lips, causing Subaru to look up instinctively. In this sort of fantasy world, elves were an indispensable race. They had long ears, long lives, and were beautiful. Ram's question caused Natsutella to close her eyes briefly, after which she sighed.
That's not quite right. I'm actually only half elf.
She spoke as if this confession was painful, and Subaru knit his brows at this, but the other two had much bigger reactions. Felt's reaction was especially striking. She shuddered as she retreated even further.
Elf and silver hair? Don't tell me!
It's an accidental resemblance. I find it quite bothersome.
Subaru didn't understand their exchange, but he did to some extent get that it was one Natsutella really didn't want to deal with. He didn't know what exactly she was denying, but it didn't seem to calm Felt down at all. Rather, she turned her gaze towards Subaru, who was just standing there in silence, and her red eyes were filled with intensity and intense animosity as she glared at him. Subaru's face stiffened in confusion, and she laughed as if mocking herself.
So you were playing me all along, huh?
What?
I thought it was weird when you started talking about returning it to the owner and stuff. Stopping me from hiring those guys in the alley to block her was part of the plan too, wasn't it? You were with her from the start.
Her questions were filled with resentment, and Subaru realized she had misunderstood the situation, but he had also realized something else. He was now closer to piecing together why Natsutella had arrived so early. Originally, she wouldn't have made it this soon after all. Right. Normally the guys Felt hired would meddle with her and delay her arrival. That didn't happen this time thanks to Subaru, and Natsutella was able to appear earlier than usual. From a casual perspective, he was the main reason this had happened, so Felt's anger wasn't exactly misplaced. In truth, The situation was starting to go the way he hoped. Unless Felt and Rom had some trick up their sleeve, they would have no choice but to return the insignia to Natsutella. To be honest, Subaru wanted to obtain the insignia and return it to her himself. But he wouldn't complain as long as it ended up in her hands. If things kept going like this, one could probably call it the second best plan. However...
Huh? What do you mean? You're not comrades?
Natsutella reacted to the apparent breakup between Felt and Subaru. In response to Natsutella's confusion, Felt laughed scornfully.
Just drop the act already. I've been cornered. How about you just take the insignia back and laugh at my stupidity?
You're caving too easily. Well, that just because you're at a slight disadvantage?
That's what you have to say after landing me in this situation? Ah, damn it! I've been had!
Felt angrily scratched at her blonde hair and groaned in frustration. The crease in Natsutella's brow deepened further as she watched his completely unladylike behavior. Seeing that they weren't quite on the same wavelength, Subaru clapped his hands and intervened.
Well, things are just getting complicated, so let's leave it at that. Give that insignia back, Felt, and... you! Leave this place quickly. Don't let anyone steal from you again.
Why are you acting all nice all of a sudden? I don't get it.
I don't understand either. What's with you?
His plan to smoothly intervene had failed magnificently. It had completely backfired. He had to draw their attention to him and become the focus of their ire. It'd be too hard to explain, so he turned to Rom for help, but he crossed his thick arms.
Our opponent uses the spirit arts, not ordinary magic. Can't make any careless moves.
He ended up misunderstanding Subaru's intent and denied him his aid. Subaru was interested in the new term Rom had casually used, but the sharp gazes from the two girls were unbearable. He had to get out of this somehow. The moment he glanced at the door, a shadow stealthily approached the silver-haired girl from behind, as if gliding.
Puck! Block it!
A sensual smile passed through the room's shadows, and a silver glint that seemed to be squirming lunged at the girl's white neck. In an instant, the girl's head was torn off as Subaru watched with wide eyes. Well, that's probably what would have happened originally. Instead, a crack. What hit his eardrums was not the sound of steel severing bone, but that of steel smashing glass. Natsutella lowered her body slightly, and a magic circle that glowed a pale blue manifested behind her head. The knife was stopped when it slammed into it head-on. The magic circle had perfectly protected her neck from the blade.
Puck?
That truly was by a hair's breadth.
Natsutella leapt forward and turned around, falling after her silver hair, and a small animal with gray fur peeked out from around her shoulder. Puck hummed in pride and glanced at Subaru.
Right in the nick of time. You saved us.
I'm the one who's been saved. Thank you.
Puck's gesture was akin to a thumbs up, and in response to Subaru, offered a frail thumbs up as well. Satella had appeared before sundown, meaning her reliable backup was still on the clock. Even though he had been called so suddenly, Puck was able to protect her with his unexpectedly splendid performance. As for the assailant whose surprise attack was blocked...
A spirit! You're a spirit, yes? Wonderful. I've never killed a spirit before.
The familiar murderer raised her cookery knife up to her face that was filled with ecstasy. It was Elsa. Her sudden appearance put Natsutella and Subaru on guard. However, the first one to take action in response wasn't either of them.
Hey! Bout!
Felt yelled as she stepped forward. She pointed at Elsa and pulled the insignia out of her bosom.
I thought your job was to purchase the insignia! Turning this place into a sea of blood wasn't part of the deal! Purchasing that insignia is indeed my job. but negotiating won't be possible since you've also brought the owner along. So I've decided to change my plans.
Belt's face had turned red with rage, but faced with Elsa's gaze full of killing intent, she instinctively stepped back. Elsa looked down at her as if she had found her fear adorable.
I'll massacre everyone in here, and then collect the insignia.
Elsa's smile was like that of a loving mother as she made this cruel declaration. She then tilted her head.
You couldn't do your job properly. It's only natural you'd be cast aside.
Felt's face warped in agony, not from fear, but from a different emotion. Subaru didn't know if Elsa's words touched a sore spot. He didn't know, and yet...
Quit screwing around, damn it!
It angered him enough to make him forget about the difference in their ability and yell at her. Elsa looked at Subaru in surprise. Felt, Rom, and Natsutella were no different. But the one who was surprised most of all was Subaru himself. He himself didn't understand why he suddenly flew off the handle. He didn't understand, so he just let his emotions take over and spilled everything.
Is it really that fun to pick on a little kid? You damned bow-loving sadist! Also, your appearance was way too sudden. Were you just waiting outside for the right timing or what? You made me celebrate prematurely because it looked like things could go smoothly. You're too damn scary! I really didn't want to meet you. Just how many horrible, painfully tear-inducing memories do you think I've got? If I had some change for every time I got torn up by a blade, I'd be a damn millionaire! That was an exaggeration.
What are you saying?
My tension and rage meters are maxed, so I've got no clue what I'm saying either. That's how my day's been. So how are you guys doing? And please, don't change the channel.
In response to Subaru's nonsensical screaming, Elsa let out a small sigh of exasperation, which was rather unusual for her. Subaru found her attitude strangely hurtful, and as he sent spittle flying.
Stalling complete! Do it, Puck!
That was magnificently awkward. I'd better live up to your expectations.
As Subaru stamped his foot, an aloof voice responded to him, causing Elsa to look up. Sharp icicles surrounded her in every direction. There were more than 20 of them.
Seems I haven't introduced myself, young lady. My name is Puck. Remember that name in the afterlife.
In an instant, Elsa was bombarded by icicles from every direction.
And that was chapter 18.
Yay!
Good job, everybody. Holy cow. Damn. Well, welcome to your introduction, Vivi. That was a great Puck.
That was great.
Akachi, Taildy, great job managing both voices. You killed it. Gojo, thank you for the narration.
No problem.
Everyone did amazing. Also, goodbye, Purple. Purple had to leave.
Goodbye.
Bye, Purple.
Things are heating up. We're on our last chapter of Arc 1. How we feeling?
It's
I'm
crazy.
feeling great.
Pretty
It's crazy
okay.
How much you immediately feel the familiar Subaru as soon as he starts acting confident and cocky again.
True. it really, it really do be hitting.
Also, that fourth wall break never gets old.
Did he do that in the anime?
Mhm.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Oh,
Turns the
no.
camera.
There's a camera zoom and everything.
You
That's
straight up stared at the
crazy.
camera.
I was this close to having him say, "And remember to subscribe."
Missed
That's funny.
opportunity!
It's like the modern version of "Don't touch that dial."
Exactly.
Exactly. Remember to like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, smash the bell icon, join the members. Studio Reviews, great place.
Is this, are we sure this is the last chapter? It seems there's only 6 pages for this one.
For Arc 1?
Yeah.
I expected at least 2.
It's not the last chapter. There's at least 6 more.
Oh,
Mm.
Kyle's is dumb.
long.
The last one for today, so
And then
it's
we'll
okay.
finish it next week.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
It's dialogue heavy, but it's only 6 pages, so it's not going to be too tough on us.
Yeah, and it's the same cast as before. Would we like to change up narrator Kun to give someone else a chance? How we feeling?
If anyone's up for it.
I can
I
do
can
it.
take over.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gold.
Oh, okay, sure.
Alright, easy. Okay, was this the first time Puck has appeared in Reverie? No, it's not, but this is the first time we have our actual casted Puck. Vivi
Yeah.
is our new Puck.
Yeah.
I did Puck
Yay!
before.
Puck, puck, puck.
But we got
Puck.
Puck.
Puck. Now we have an official Puck. Let's
What the
go.
puck?
What
These
the
are
Puck?
these are chickens.
That Vivi. Vivi the Goblin.
That's
Puck
a,
have
Vivi
some
the
luck.
Goblin. Everybody, look at her. Perceive
Oh.
her.
Please don't perceive me.
Admire.
She has a Twitch channel you should check out.
Yeah.
She's so.
look upon.
Yes. I need to get all your
Anyways.
credits, by the way.
Ponder the Vivi,
Honda.
as you would an orb.
Vivi's like crawling in her skin. She's like, I don't want this.
Freaking out.
Sorry.
Feet kicks.
Freaking out.
Vivi's been a fan for a long time.
Yeah, you get
So
used
she's
to
just
it.
cheesing.
I'm
Aw.
teasing.
She's happy to be here.
All right.
You're happy, right?
I'm happy, I promise.
Be happy.
Nobody is forcing me to say this. Nobody's forcing me.
Half
Under
happy, half
orders.
horrified.
My family is perfectly safe at home and they are all fine and healthy.
I'm
Blink,
gonna pass out.
Vivi's held at gunpoint in my apartment.
tied up.
Ignore the sound of the chains.
Wait. Are we sure that Vivi
Yo.
has her own Discord channel? She's not using the third person using that mic in Kyle's room.
So true.
Did you know that the actual studios in my apartment and I kidnapped everyone and brought them up to
Yeah, we're
Ottawa?
all there.
Happy
Yep.
Canada
Help,
Day.
One mic.
Goes help.
Not the priest I'm moving, right?
Yeah, in a day.
Look, we've been dealing with your Canadian smoke here in Missouri the last 3 days, so
I've been
I-
dealing with our own Canadian smoke. We can't even open our goddamn windows. It's been day 3.
Hey, apparently one of those fires was set by an American, so whose fault is
Yeah.
it really?
You fucking Americans.
USA.
It was me. It was me.
USA.
USA.
I mean, if we want to go back to real fault, then Wolf, it should technically be
It
the
was me,
British.
Barry.
It was me! It was me, Barry.
It was the long con.
You know damn well you both thought
I
it was
lit your
Air Force
force
fires.
supersonic speed.
I rubbed a piece of wood at supersonic speed.
Didn't even see me. I'm so freaking fast. Fast as fuck, boy.
That's funny. Okay.
Yes, we're diverging.
Tealdi and Kyle's, if you want to switch back with Felt, I think Amelia does not talk almost at all this entire chapter.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Give your poor voice a break. You did great, though.
Love
Especially
her.
when I have to immediately answer myself, like, go from way up here to being seductive and
Yeah.
low.
That's like the hardest switch.
It's like, oh.
Yeah,
At
when
least Amelia and Felt are like always around each other.
early
Yeah.
Arc 5 chapters where I had to do Wolfiana and Subaru, like having
I
a lot
remember.
of each other.
Oh,
It
no.
was the most painful experience of my life.
And we're revisiting that right now.
So excited!
Yay!
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 Can't wait to see your
Yeah.
Wolfiana again.
Chapter 63 is done. I should be editing it tonight when I
Wait,
get home.
Kylie, can I hear your Wolfiana?
I'm Wolfiana, and I love to be fucking annoying.
Just
Thank
as
you.
horrible. Beautiful. Thank you.
Don't worry, the narration is more my voice,
Oh,
and I
okay.
make it as fucking clumsy as possible. So
we
it's
love
Nice.
less grating on the ears, but still annoying.
Are you
Good.
saying my voice is
Good
grating on
balance.
the ears?
It is when
Yes.
you're Wolfiana.
Damn.
Damn.
What the fuck?
Anyways, before we get
Truth
to a
bomb.
domestic, let's get on with the chapter.
Yay! Preventing DV!
Yeah!
Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me
Yeah.
cue the music, actually. Kyle's is not ready. Okay, we're ready.
Arc 1, Chapter 19 Battle of the Spirit Arts User. The icicles crisscrossed mercilessly, filling the room with a white mist and covering the black cloaked figure in freezing wind. The speed of these icicles were far beyond what he'd seen in the alley. As far as Subaru knew, this had transcended the major league and had reached a level of speed you only saw in video games. Their sharp tips would easily pierce through the human body and come out red in fresh blood. There are about 20 of them. If they landed, it'd mean certain death, but...
Is she finished?
Right, that's a bad flag!
Even though he had remained silent for so long, the bully just had to go and say something at the worst possible time, and as if to answer Subaru's shout,
I was prepared, you see. I quite dislike its weight, but it was the right decision to wear it.
cutting through the white smoke, Elsa dashed forward with her black hair dancing behind her. As she brandished her kukri knife and nimbly advanced, there was no sign of injury on her body. She had cast aside her cloak and was now only wearing the form-fitting black clothes she wore underneath it. But there was no change besides this.
Don't tell me this is the sort of thing where you take off weighted clothing and get faster!
That would be pretty interesting, but the reality is simpler. My cloak had a spell woven into it that could negate magic just once. It seems it allowed me to keep my life.
Elsa politely answered Subaru's query, and then swung her blade from a low stance. Standing in her path was Natsatella, who had just unleashed that huge attack. The blade's path was true, intended to plunge the heavy tip into her chest. Subaru was about to scream, but before that could happen,
You do well to not underestimate a user of the spirit arts. We're rather frightening when you make enemies of us.
a multi-layered shield device easily stopped Elsa's blade. Natsatella placed her hands together before her chest. She had probably formed that shield using her hands. With her attack blocked, Elsa immediately backflipped away. A number of slightly smaller icicles were rapidly fired in pursuit and pierced the ground. This was Puck's attack. He floated by Natsatella's silver hair as he waved his arms like he was conducting an orchestra.
They're splitting the roles of offense and defense. It's really 2-on-1.
Well, that's what makes a spirit art user dangerous. One handles defense while the other handles offense. Depending on the situation, you'll have one stall with simple magic while the other prepares a powerful move. They can do that sort of thing. On the battlefield, it's commonly said that if you encounter a spirit arts user, you should drop your weapon and wallet and run.
As Subaru looked on in admiration, Rom was the one who muttered gravely as he tightened his grip on his club. Subaru nodded at his words. Indeed, in a one-on-one battle, their advantage was absolute. Overcoming that would be no easy feat.
By the way, what are you planning to do, old man?
I'll look for an opening to help the elf girl. She seems more reasonable than the other one.
Wait! Don't try it! You'd only be a burden. You just have your right arm and throat ripped apart if you go, so stay right here!
Don't be that specific. It feels almost like it actually happened.
He had actually seen that happen twice. As a result, his statement felt genuine. Rom seemed rather displeased as he clutched his arm and neck, as if he felt himself getting cut down in another dimension. Even as they had this exchange, the battle continued. Although Subaru had warmed Rom with his frivolous talk, in truth there were no openings to interfere in the battle. Countless lumps of ice formed one after another and blasted all over the room. Their sizes varied. The larger ones were about the size of a head, and the smaller ones were roughly fist-sized. They were fired all with speeds of a full power pitch, and it is clear just how dangerous they were. However, as she was surrounded by all this ice, Elsa's movements now that she had lost her magic negating cloak had transcended the realm of common sense. She would twist her body, lower herself to the ground as if crawling, and occasionally even defy gravity by running the walls. If she judged that even this wouldn't suffice, she would strike the ice with her blade, shattering the white crystals. She matched quantity with overwhelming quality. Her skill was exceptional.
You handle yourself well for a girl.
Even Puck had to admire her combat sense that could only be described as godlike. His mutter caused Elsa to smile broadly, even in the midst of that chaotic battle.
Oh, my. It's been quite a while since I was last regarded as a simple girl.
Most of my opponents might as well be babies from my perspective. But even so, you're strong, it's almost pitiful.
It's quite the honor to receive praise from a spirit.
Genuinely delighted by his compliment, she swept away the ice surrounding her with her blade. He must have fired close to 100 by now, but besides that first bombardment, not a single one connected. Puck was pressuring her with the sheer quantity of his offense, but he was unable to land a decisive blow.
At this rate, won't they run out of MP and lose?
As he pictured a reversal in offense and defense, Subaru pointed out that a lengthy battle would prove disadvantageous. However, Rom shook his head.
I don't know what an MP is, but there's no need to worry about a spirit user running out of mana in battle.
No need to worry about them running out of mana?
Unlike magic users, spirit users do not use the mana within them, but rather the mana around them. Unless the world itself runs dry, a spirit user will never run out of mana.
They've got unlimited gasoline, so they can rev their engines as much as they please, huh? Quite a cheat.
Rom cocked his head. Subaru's response was completely incomprehensible to him. He then continued with his head tilted.
But there's also the matter of how long the spirit can remain corporeal. Once the spirit is gone, the situation might change drastically.
Crap, that's right. It's almost 5, isn't it?
In the first world, Puck went to sleep not long after sunset. It hadn't been that long since the fight started, but surely throwing around that much magic must have been a significant drain on his mana reserves, or whatever.
This is bad. I'm getting a little drowsy, actually. I was fighting in my sleep just now.
Hey, Puck? Get it together.
I'm up. I'm awake. I'm definitely not sleeping.
His voice is so low. Isn't that conversation super concerning?
Subaru's worries looked to be right on the mark. Puck seemed to be nodding off already, and he could see that Noctilla, who had Puck on her shoulder, was also starting to look anxious.
It was getting good. You're not even paying attention. How cold.
That's the problem with being a popular guy. The girls just won't let you sleep. Staying up too late is terrible for your skin, you know.
Bending her knees slightly, Elsa prepared to leap. Anticipating this, Puck shrewdly winked at her and spoke.
How about we go ahead and put an end to this? You must be tired of seeing the same old performance, right?
My leg.
The instant she tried to advance, she tipped forward and had to put her hands out to stop her fall. Subaru stared in shock as this unbelievable screw-up, the reason for which was at her feet. Elsa's right foot was stuck to the frozen floor. The shattered ice had slowly piled up, and had now been used to trap her foot.
It's not like I was just firing randomly, you know.
So you've got me. Is that right?
Just think of it as a difference in experience. I believe this is worthy of some praise. Good night.
As he threw his chest out, Puck's small body started to waver. He thrust his hands out in front of him, a pose that suggested he was about to use a killer technique, and started gathering up the largest amount of magic thus far. Even Subaru could see it radiating from him. That magical power did not turn to ice. It was fired as pure destructive energy. The bluish-white light froze everything in its path and dyed the loot house white in one fell swoop. The energy passed through Elsa and slammed into the entrance to the loot house, blowing away the poorly fitted door. The freezing waves left in the aftermath even reached outside. Once that magnificent light passed through, all that was left was frost. The goods, the furniture, the counter, everything was completely frozen. Naturally, anyone who took a direct hit would inevitably be turned into an ice sculpture. However...
You're joking.
I'm afraid not. Splendid. I thought I was going to die.
if she had taken it head on, perhaps that would have been enough.
You are a girl, so I can't really praise this sort of thing.
She had managed to avoid his last resort, but Puck wasn't any angrier than his words suggested. He truly was displeased by the act itself. Super could see blood dripping and traces steam coming off the floor. The source of the blood was Elsa's right foot. She was standing barefoot just barely out of the path of Puck's attack, and a large amount of blood was pouring out of her right foot. It was only natural. After all, she had sliced off the sole of her foot.
I was in such a hurry, I almost chopped the whole thing off. That was a close one.
But even that amount ought to be quite painful.
Yes, I suppose you're correct. It is painful. Wonderful. I feel alive. Now...
In response to Puck's concerned words, Elsa nodded with an ecstatic look, and then raised her bleeding foot and pressed it against a nearby lump of ice with no hesitation. It sounded like the air was cracking. Elsa moaned seductively after she used her kukri knife to smooth the icy surface. With that, she managed to stop the bleeding. She had recklessly attached a part of the ice to her soul.
It's a little hard to move, but it's enough.
Her ice shoe produced a stiff sound as she tested it against the ground. She then smiled even more cheerfully. The fact that she was so addicted to battle that she didn't even mind mutilating herself left Subaru speechless, but it left an even bigger impression on Puck and Noctilla, who were facing her.
Puck, can you continue?
Oh, sorry, I'm really sleepy. I underestimated her a bit. I used up too much mana. I'm gonna disappear.
When Puck responded to her murmur, his voice had for the first time lost its composure. The cat on her shoulder, by her silver hair, started to emit a faint glow and looked as though he could disappear at any moment. He was out of time.
I'll handle this
Should-
somehow. So get some rest for now. Thank you.
Should anything happen to you, I'll act in accordance with the contract. If it comes down to it, ring your ode to draw me out.
As if urged on by Noctatella's tender voice, Puck's body suddenly scattered and vanished. Every single person in that room lamented his retreat, but the one who was most disappointed was...
Gone. Terribly unfortunate.
Elsa, who had been fighting for her life. She once again readied her blade and moved toward Noctatella with her high-pitched footsteps. In response, Noctatella started forming icicles one after another, but she couldn't form nearly as many as Puck had. However, considering Elsa's mobility had dropped, their chances of winning were probably still 50-50.
We can't just stand around staring anymore.
Rom gripped his club and readied himself. Perhaps he thought the situation looked bad. When Super silently looked at him, he shrugged his shoulders.
We don't know if she can win without assistance. So if we just sit around and watch, we're just missing our chance. You understand, right, Phil?
Yeah, I get it. Even if we choose to run, we've got to do it right now.
Phil hadn't spoken a word since Elsa first made her threat. She stood next to Rom, who seemed ready to fight, and then suddenly turned to Subaru.
About earlier, you kind of saved me.
Huh?
Just a little, mind you. Also, don't call me a kid. Despite how I look, I'm actually 15. Probably around the same as you.
I'm 18 this year. I can drive and get married.
You don't look it. You look like a kid. You gotta live a life that shows on your face more.
On top of being a shut-in, he also lived a life without major ups and downs. Still, he felt that this current state of situation had way too many gigantic ups and downs. As the two resolved themselves and reserved the state of battle, all Super could do was watch. He was probably the weakest one there, and it wasn't merely fighting strength that he lacked.
My legs are trembling. He won't move. He don't even have the resolve.
It was more than a problem of being unqualified. He couldn't even get involved. Rom had his arms, Felt had her legs, and Noctatella had her magic. They could use these to fight. However, Elsa's abnormality transcended all of these.
She's getting overwhelmed.
Rom's cannon impression said it all. Noctatella continued to fire an endless barrage of ice, but they were all smashed apart by Elsa's blade dance. Elsa sprang toward her, slashing as if she was dancing, in response to Noctatella's halted her attack to block with her ice shield and then froze the ground underneath her to slide away, barely avoiding the subsequent attacks. If she managed to gain some distance, she would once again go on the offensive with her ice barrage, but Elsa didn't seem like the kind of opponent who'd fall for the same trick twice. The next time she approached Noctatella, Super would probably end up seeing a sight he never wanted to see again.
Here goes.
Probably imagining the same thing, Rom roared as he joined the battle. He raised his club and produced a powerful wind as he swung it. A bit of the hair on the back of Elsa's head got caught up at this as she ducked.
Dear, it's rather boorish to cut in on a dance.
If you want to dance that bad, I'll make you dance the finest dance of all. Here, round and round.
Rom thrust his spiked club at her, changing the scope of his attack from a line to a point. This sudden, unconventional attack was aimed at Elsa's throat, and at the end, the result froze Rom's voice.
What the hell?
Because you're so strong, I can even do this.
Elsa was on her tiptoes, standing on the tip of the club. There was a divinely inspired sense of balance to this disparity in power, the first time such acrobatics were performed. Before this miraculous balance could collapse, Elsa swung her blade horizontally. It was aimed at Rom's temple. The force was such that a direct hit would blow the top of his head off.
As if I'd let you.
Clang! A small knife was thrown into her blade's path, hitting it. The impact from directly below slightly disturbed the blade's movement, and the side of the blade slammed into his head, still retaining its speed. There was a dull sound of steel striking bone, and Rom's body collapsed to the side.
Bad girl.
Elsa landed casually and turned her gaze toward Felt. Felt's small knife had saved Rom's from a fatal slash. She had probably been aiming at Elsa's arm, but it seemed her haste threw off her aim. But it can also be said that this just barely saved Rom's life.
You have neither the resolve nor the strength to fight. That being the case, you should have just cowered in the corner making yourself small.
With high-pitched footsteps, Elsa's dark figure seemed to be gliding as she instantly appeared before Felt. Rom was unconscious from the blow to the head, and Natsutel had since put some distance between them. She would not make it in time. Felt herself was paralyzed like a frog in a snake's sights.
Hydara!
Thus, the only one who could grab her small body and leap out of the way was the one who had been cowering in terror right next to her.
And that was
And that
chapter 19.
is the chapter.
Yay!
That was an
Yay!
epic chapter.
Action-packed.
Action.
Dun dun dun.
I flubbed 2 lines.
No,
We
that's
all do
totally
it.
It's
fine.
okay.
But yay!
Yay!
Y'all did amazing!
Also, the great part is that if you flub a little bit of Old Man Rom, it's fine because he's an alcoholic. Yay!
Yeah,
So
that's
true.
good. Yeah, that's good.
I am heavily intoxicated.
Wow,
Oh,
great
it's
character.
permanent.
And now
Fascinating.
concussed on top of it.
Okay, yeah.
You're amazing, pal. And that's
No,
what
you're
makes
amazing.
us a fan.
You're all amazing.
No,
Woo-hoo!
you're breathtaking.
No, you're breathtaking. All right.
Exactly what I was going for.
Because I have to run off to work in a moment. I'm gonna let you guys hang out for a bit on here. You know how to turn off stream when you're ready?
I pressed big red button that says end stream.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'll
Good
get
job,
ready.
Wolf.
You guys keep talking for a bit and hanging out. I'm gonna go finish getting ready, and I'll say bye when we all get ready to leave.
Yay, big
All
red
right.
button.
So, great job, everybody, and Wolf is taking over.
Hello, Wolf.
Hello. It is host
Hello.
Boy Wolf.
Hi.
What do you want to say about that group of chapters, huh? It was a pretty action-packed. It was kind of nice, you know. The negotiation was going through and stuff like that, and then, ooh, Elsa's back, and they're doing a little fight with everybody.
I
with
just
Amelia.
like to say, Chad Puck versus Virgin Subaru. Okay, that's all I have to say.
I mean, he gets all the ladies, you know. What
he,
can I
he
say? All
does.
ladies want
He
him.
is the
True.
perfect symbol of masculinity that Subaru needs as a role model. I'm just saying.
Fair.
I'll
Fair.
hold my tongue.
Especially the deadbeat dad part.
Yeah, he's a deadbeat dad.
Hey, you know, sometimes you gotta go buy some milk, okay?
Sometimes
Like what, 10 gallons worth?
You know, 10 years worth. That's why.
he's so small, it'll take longer for him to pick up every single milk carton.
Yeah. He's really
true.
struggling. Amelia, he's coming back. I promise.
Now I just imagine like a picture of Puck like grabbing like a milk carton with his hands and dragging it across like the
And
town
He's got like
towards the mansion.
he's got like 7 cigarettes in his mouth too.
Please. Puck is a single father.
He's a chain smoker too.
As one should be.
Smoking on ice.
Gets
As
halfway
one
home, it's like,
should
ah,
be."
damn it, I'm out of smokes again. Gotta go back.
You can tell by his voice, it's so deep and gruff. You know, it's like
Yeah, totally.
He just misunderstood what it means to be the great spirit of fire and thinks he has to smoke all the time.
It's because he is fire. But
That got me.
I'm yeah, it's not too honestly from what I remember from actually reading Arc 1's light novel. The differences between the web novel, light novel, and therefore anime aren't really too big here. At least in these
Yeah, I
last
don't
couple
think so.
chapters that we've been reading so far.
I think this one has a plot hole filled in that I think is still in the or gets made in the light novel and the anime though.
Oh, what
of
is
why Amelia shows up on the last loop, but not the first one where he's meeting with Rom and Felt.
That being the guys that felt hired.
Yeah, that she hires random people in the slums to slow her down. That's not mentioned in the anime at all.
True.
And I don't think it's said in the I don't think it's said in the light novel, but I only read through the whole thing once, so I could be mistaken.
Huh. Also, the most important inclusion was here that felt as stinky.
Yeah.
So true.
So that is a
Filthy
big change.
child.
I mean,
It makes sense.
Like I was saying, Subaru should have bought some deodorant just to help Felt out when he got.
I mean, to be fair, when you live in the slums, where do you take a bath? You know.
Yeah, but keep
In
in,
the
mind
mud
that
water.
it is Subaru, so it would have just been like Axe body spray.
It is
That's true.
yeah, he would have Axe
We
body spray. You're
guarantee
100%.
he has that.
It's a shower in a can.
I don't need a shower.
No.
That was a joke, children. Do not do that. That
You
is
don't
vile.
know.
Proof Space in chat says it was said in the light novel apparently. So
Okay.
I guess that's
Thank
just
you,
a thing
Proof.
in the anime that's not covered.
Axe body spray.
No. I believe the people felt hired to slow down Amelia.
Yeah, no, that was not even mentioned.
Really? I. Oh, it could have been in the Repetit or whatever it's called. I think that maybe.
Could be.
That's a possibility. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think I can imagine like a frame of that happening, but it could just be misremembering. Oh well.
The deodorant is worth 10 holy gold coins. Here,
That could have been what he offered her. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
see,
my-
this combined with this Meteor cell phone. Give me the insignia!
I think my favorite thing that people like to bring out is that the huge plot hole with Subaru's phone is that its battery should not last as long as it does, especially as an old-timey phone.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes they be lasting.
Well, that's
forever.
Is it a Nokia?
He just got back, you know. He's just here.
Nothing can kill a Nokia.
Yeah, but then he's at the mansion for a while. But he could have taken the battery out.
That's
kind of the thing with the older phones.
Maybe.
Is like unlike modern day like iPhones and Androids and everything else, they don't like have the always on part to them. It's not part of the
Sure.
software. So when they're turned off, the batteries aren't used. So you can leave one of those old ones off for like a year and it'll still turn back on.
Oh wow.
I mean,
Okay.
I remember
nice.
those batteries lasting for days just because the
Mhm.
phone didn't have functions.
Yeah, they did
Mhm.
last pretty long.
I could
So
just
the only times he uses it is as an alarm clock that then that time gets erased. He checks that during part of Arc 3 and then that loop gets erased and then he uses it in Arc 3 again later.
I find it quite interesting. Like, imagine like hundreds of years in the future, they're looking upon this great artifact of reverence, and it's just like this old phone that can no longer work. Like, yes, this was the great device that helped slay the white whale.
Oh man, he's gonna be so mad after he just burned through the, I don't know, 5 megabytes of memory that phone probably has.
Oh, yeah.
Those photos are in kilobytes. Don't worry. It's like
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Subaru's using it in batches of 8s here as an offensive weapon.
Oh.
That's
Hey.
probably like the whole photo roll right there.
Mhm.
You gotta get creative, okay?
I wonder if he ever tried to like revive his phone with lightning magic and just fucked it up.
That would
been
be
thinking
that
about
would
this the
be
whole time.
that would be a random side tangent. Can you imagine? Like
Like
later on in the
try to
story?
find someone with like electricity magic or something. It's like, can you give it just like a tiny charge?
The unfortunate thing is though is that he pawns it off, so he
Oh,
no longer
yeah.
has possession of it later on.
Wait, when?
In Arc 3,
Russell
it was part
Sallow.
of the deal.
Mhm.
Oh, true, yeah.
Right.
In order to get the cannons of the carriages.
Yeah. But
We'll
yeah,
get
it's
to there eventually.
it's again, as I've been saying for the past couple readings of Arc 1, this has been really, really fun, because normally, for me especially, re-experiencing Arc 1 through the light novel and anime, I get very bored, if I'm being honest. Just because
100%.
I've experienced that part of the story quite a bit. Like, I've attempted to reread the first light novel like 3 or 4 times, and I just can't do it every time. Just because it's like decent as a first time thing, as a setup for the story when you're like first reading it. But if you're re-experiencing it, it is kind of painful, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, comparably to the rest of the story, the building of the story is less satisfying than when you get into the main meat of everything. That is, you know, shown about the world, all the mysteries, all these characters, you know. Like, having, like, the initial part of it isn't as entertaining to me as everything else.
But I like the foundation that's set here, and I will say I like all the additional stuff, because I felt even in the light novel, I think there's a little bit more like insight into Subaru's thoughts here in the web novel, whereas I think the
there
light novel
definitely
tries
is.
to get a lot more mysterious with how he's feeling, which works out in its own way, especially in Arc 3. I find, but I really like the extra context we get to Subaru's feelings here, because it very much makes him feel. It humanizes him, even though he's an absolute fucking idiot in this arc.
Mm-hmm. The light novel also makes a kind of bigger point about how like mean he is supposed to look
Yes.
than this is done the entire time. I think it's only mentioned his eyes once, but it's
yeah,
like
I think it
once a chapter in the
yeah.
light novel.
But yeah, they don't really emphasize his appearance much. Which is rather interesting when we think about like the anime adaptation, right? Because for season 1 and season 2, there's no real like, apart from like one moment in arc 1, there's not a really big showing of how Subaru's eyes actually kind of look, as described in the novels. There's that one moment where Felt tells him that his eyes look scary in arc 1, and they have this one cut comedy moment of his eyes looking like dark and scary. But apart from that, it's not very well come across how Subaru's appearance actually kind of looks.
They treat his angry-looking eyes like a gag moment in a lot of arc 2 as well.
Yeah.
Like whenever he does something that makes him act like he does in arc 1, then he gets those appearance to them.
But I will say I'm really excited to see what the rest of the web novel offers for the early arcs, because so far I'm enjoying it, honestly, more than I thought I would so far.
I think so too. As you said, the light novel kind of hides his inner thoughts and feelings a lot more. So it doesn't feel like the Subaru that we're used to after season 2 of the anime or arc 5 and 6 of the light novel or the web novels.
It's one of those things where I see the benefits of it because it helps make his progression feel more apparent, but I also feel like the shift in character kind of feels a bit unreasonable at points when you don't have that baseline of understanding of him. Because here in the web novel, we completely understand. Subaru is not like, even though he acts like an asshole in a lot of these situations, he's not actually like an asshole. It's how he's acting because he's socially incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
It's not malicious.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Whereas, especially with how they kind of, I don't know, I'm interested to see eventually when we get to arc 3 how the capital scene is handled there. But I find from light novel to anime, the anime really played up Subaru's like behavior.
Oh, for sure.
When he's at the brink, and I'm kind of interested to see if the web novel goes more extreme, has a more middle ground, or is a bit more low on that. I'm excited.
It's gonna be tough because, like, as Crowley said, it's not all like fully translated and localized and everything.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be tricky to make sure that we're getting the right intention through and not just letting our bias for what we're expecting it to be come through, and get a real understanding of how it's meant to be seen and read and interpreted from the stupid kid that he is.
Yeah. I know this isn't really relevant to arc 1 again, but I just thought I'd bring it up because I know a lot of people don't know too much about this, but like in the anime, it's not even really kind of mentioned, or if it is, it's not like translated correctly. But Julius at one point in arc 3, like while Subaru is in the throne room having this rant, like makes some sort of like reference to Subaru's father. Not in the sense that he knows him, or like, wouldn't your father be ashamed, or something like that. It's something similar to that, I believe. And it kind of adds that extra layer to Subaru's backstory that's not revealed until arc 4.
Right.
But I think the fight scenes were still exciting here. Everyone did a phenomenal job with the voice acting, by the way. Drad, your Rom is perfect, and I don't think we could have anyone that's better for Rom. Like in this
I know
You're
you're
Yes,
doing
Rom.
so good. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I will try to not flub any more lines.
Vivi,
It's okay. Sometimes you get in the mush mouth moment and it won't stop.
I'm sorry, but he was mumbling 3 sentences that were just exposition.
It's a huge struggle. I completely get it, especially as like when I'm playing Subaru, who has so many lines of dialogue. It gets to the point sometimes where I'm like on my last leg of existence.
Yeah, you just kind of have to force words out of your mouth, and you're like, I don't even know how to
It's like
do this.
just noises come out. Something makes sense.
You don't even know what you're reading, right?
Yeah.
By the way, Tealdi, your Elsa's insane. Just.
Yes,
Thank you.
as I was about to say, Tealdi, your Elsa is so good. And Vivi, your Puck is also really good. Give yourself some credit. I really enjoy your take on Puck.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this is her first time ever doing this, so everyone clap for her in the chat and stuff.
Let's go!
She did a great job for her first time. Anyways, does anybody else have anything else they want to say about the chapter, or should we wrap it up here?
There is a lot of game references in these last couple that I mentioned in the docs if anyone in chat wants to peek at them, but there's like Metal Gear Solid ones, there's just generic, don't drop the like boiling pot or the whole level restarts.
Do you catch those by yourself or do you Google them? Because that
Some of
hide that
them,
up. Right?
some of them Witch Cult catches, some of them I do catch myself, and then
right.
ones at the end where it's like Haidara, I just Google it and throw in Japanese meaning or Japanese reference, and that typically pulls up the whatever he's trying to say.
Very impressive.
But yeah, it's I didn't really notice it upon first watching just because I wasn't very experienced in anime at the time, but there were so many references in ReZero. Just such a wide variety of media as well.
Yeah, he does a lot.
Is there
It's very cultured.
very cultured, yes.
Only the finest of references
We have
for your
so
anime
much culture
today.
here. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up before we end stream?
Well, I want to bring up thank you every single lovely person today for watching, and also all of our cast for being here today. It's always great to have everybody all together for our live readings, and we're doing more and more, and it's very exciting seeing how things are progressing recently. So if you guys want to be here while we keep on making new content and keep on putting out new chapters, getting ready for Arc 6 even, happy, woo. We're getting editors, we're getting a bunch of people around here. Everything is running a lot more smoothly, so we're glad that you'll have us, and we're happy to have you as we kind of take you along this journey into completing ReZero. And also, feel free to share any way that you want our project with anybody else that is interested in ReZero, any friends that you know, or anybody that you kind of just know in spaces that you're in, because this is a good way. It's sort of like an audiobook. It's nice to be able to listen to ReZero in this sort of format, whether you want to watch the anime first, or you could even start here if you just want to listen to the first arc. That being said, we even have after the anime Arc 5, so watch out for those. Those chapters are coming out soon. It's being edited as we speak. If you're a member, you get those episodes early.
Yep.
And we're working on them, and they're going to be done very soon. So keep an eye out for that, and I hope you're all excited. And thank you all for joining us this lovely Saturday.
Thank you, everyone. Also, quick side note, I think you're able to remix parts of our chapter. So if there's a part you think is really funny or really like, feel free to remix it and post it on your channel. And
even make sure to clips. Yeah, make sure to do some clips.
Clip all you want. And then just lead it back here, and we love that. Thank you, everyone.
Join our server. I don't know if we need to have a link for our server. We put it in chat.
I'll do that. You keep talking.
Yep, and we're glad to have you. The server is going more active, and we're happy to kind of be excited with you all and see our community as we grow. And even you guys can be involved in some things. We have some things like art that we need done every once in a while. We love our artists. And also other people that are just willing to, support us in any way possible, whether it be through, memberships or, just kind of hanging out and just having fun and sharing. It motivates us. It helps us keep on going. So please go ahead and do that and support everybody else on their various other projects. There's that in our Discord as well. If you want to support any of us, we have our own things that we all do. So go ahead and do that if you would like.
Yeah, Gold's covered it all, basically. I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for stopping by, voice actors and viewers all. It has been wonderful having you all. And thank you again for joining us on this wonderful Saturday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Like and comment.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.